talking today. We're the Tri-City CERT team, and CERT stands for the Community Emergency Response Team. And Tri-Cities are Gardena, Hawker, and Lawndale. So all of us have been CERT trained by LA County Fire. So that means that you took the 20-hour class, and it's a free class, and we're going to be having one soon in Gardena in November. We'd love to have you, and it's for all ages. And you can learn all kinds of things on safety, to emergency preparedness, how to prepare for an earthquake, how to manage your household utilities, and you actually put out a fire. So we are so happy that you're here, and this is your first step to becoming prepared as a home mobile unit. And so we really thank you all for being here today. And this is our CERT team here, and some of them are our presenters. And they're going to be talking about different types of topics that will relate to how you can prepare your home and yourselves and your family, and even your pets in an emergency. So we're so glad you're here, so you'll learn all these things. So I want to acknowledge Barbara Rosales and Michael. And Barbara is your manager here at the park, and she showed me like her plans of how she prepares teams to know what to do, how to check up on all of you in following a disaster even before, and so she has a great team. She has everything mapped out, and so we're so proud of her. This is probably our fifth time being here, and we really thank Barbara for her leadership and her tireless work. And so let's give a hand for Barbara. We also want to acknowledge Michael Gallegos, who both of them are CERT members, and Michael is so faithful in helping all of us with all our community outreaches. And we also thank him for being here to watch all of you. And so these are the two people, your go-to people for CERT, and you can always, they could always contact us if you need further information. So just want to say that we have a lot of literature, and as you signed in, you got a packet, and we'll explain that to you more. But I'm going to hand it off to our next presenter. So the ones who are not presenting, you could go and sit down. The presenters that will be here to present will be seated here. So the next person will be Jose.
Good morning, everyone. How are you this morning?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well, thank you. I'm not going to go with my usual presentation style. Today, I'm going to go with a little bit of a story. I want all of you to put on your hats and use your imaginations for a moment. Now imagine you're in bed, you're asleep, and then suddenly we get that 8.2 earthquake, everything's shaking, your window's shattered, stuff's falling down, everything's crazy in your house. If you wear glasses, your glasses aren't on the nightstand where you left them, because that's where I put mine at night. And you're getting ready to go ahead and get up, get out of bed, you cut your feet out on the broken glass, you go through the house and you're trying to find stuff, you can't find anything. And next thing you know, you're outside your house in the middle of the rain, because it happens to rain, because earthquakes always seem to hit early in the morning. It's early in the morning, you're there in your pajamas. How does that make you feel? If that was to be you. You don't want to be that person, right? Now, imagine somebody who's a little more prepared, and they've decided to go ahead and they have what's called an under-the-bed bag. So in there, they have some shoes, they'll have some clothes, maybe a hard hat, maybe a little bit of first aid supplies, a flashlight, and so you have that in your bag and you attach it to your bed. That's key. You want to make sure you attach it to your bed or to something that won't move. Now, your furniture will move unless it's bolted to a wall or secured. So you want to make sure it's attached to that bed. So if your bed bounces around your room and ends up somewhere else, that bag will stay with it. You can grab that bag, you can run outside now instead of being stuck in just your pajamas without your glasses or anything like that. You can have your spare glasses in there, you can put those on, you can put on some clothes, you keep the right rain gear, you put that in there, you can go ahead and patch yourself up a bit if you got cut on the way out of your house. So which scenario sounds a little better to you? The second one where you have a bag, right? Because you don't want to be the one running around out there in your pajamas in the middle of the night, especially if you don't wear anything to bed, or, you know, you wear just your underwear to bed, then, you know, you don't want to be out in the rain in that. So those are what they are. So that's an under the bed bag. We have one in the back you can go ahead and take a look at after the presentations are all done. I'll be back there to answer questions. And then we also have what's called a stay-at-home box. Now, generally what will happen is if you have to stay at home, we all remember the COVID lockdowns, right? Suddenly you discover toilet paper was as valuable as gold. Going to the grocery store, you grew up, there was always stuff on the shelves, but you went and suddenly you saw empty shelves, and you had to go ahead and decide, well, I can't normally get my, you know, my typical $1,000 dressing that I normally get. I have to go find this other brand over here to work with. So, your stay-at-home box is basically going to be more advanced than a backpack. It's going to be larger, it might be multiple boxes. You'll have spare medication. You'll want to have a binder that has emergency information, such as your life insurance information, your renter's insurance, or your homeowner's insurance, car insurance, information for your credit cards, mortgage if you have a mortgage on your trailer, anything like that. You want to have all of that set aside so it's all put together in a nice neat binder, actually written down contact information for friends and family, bank information, because even though you've had an earthquake, the bank's going to want their money for whatever it is, be car insurance, credit card payment, or anything else. They might work with you a little bit, but they're going to want that. So you need to have the numbers and stuff to call them, because how many of you have it on a computer, or maybe you have a bill and you always stick your bill in one spot? Well, during an earthquake, that spot may be across the room. Because they actually, during Northridge earthquake, remember those big, thick, heavy TVs they used to have before flat screens? Some of those ended up across the room embedded in a wall. Did you guys ever see any of that when you guys were responding during Northridge?
That was more LA City, but we did see a lot of structural collapse. That goes into sand.
Yeah, our building that used to be 2 stories was now 1 story. So because of that, you want to have everything convenient, so you can just grab that box and you now have, you know, you have everything in that box. And you can live at that box at home, or if you have to evacuate, you can put that box in your trunk, you have all that stuff with you, you can go travel off to wherever you need to. So you want to have some food, minimum 3 days worth of food and water. How much water is that? How much water? How much water do you think you need to store per person per day, roughly?
1 gallon.
How much?
1 gallon a day.
Yeah, FEMA recommends 1 gallon per day. Jose recommends as much as you have space for. If you can fit 4 gallons per day, go 4 gallons per day, because you might have a neighbor that doesn't have any water. You can help them out, become their best friend, because they might have batteries for a flashlight and you realize you didn't buy batteries. So you can trade off for stuff. Become friends with your neighbors, help each other out. So you want to go ahead and make sure you have stuff like that. If you have extra medications, get your medications. Now I know sometimes it's hard to get spare medications. There's a few tricks. You can find out how much your medication costs without insurance. Then what you can do is you can ask your doctor to give you a separate prescription. And then you can go in and tell them, hey, you know what, I need to go ahead and do this medication. I don't want to do it through my insurance, I want to pay cash. And they'll more than likely dispense the medication for you. Unless it's a controlled substance like codeine, opioids, or something like that. They won't do it because those are becoming really hard to get now. But like heart medication, for high blood pressure stuff, diabetes medication, and if you're diabetic and you have to keep your medicine cold like my grandfather was before he passed, I came up with all sorts of creative things, like we got a refrigerated cooler for him. You could hook up to a car, run it for a few hours, and that would cool his medication down. So these are all the little things you want to have. What would be something you would like to put into, say, an emergency bag for you?
All the medication that I needed.
Yeah, all the medication you needed. What about you? What would you stick into a bag?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not feeling very good this morning.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're not feeling good. Do you take medications? Do you take medications?
No medication.
No medication? Then you're lucky. I'm jealous, because I have to take high blood pressure meds, so I keep mine stashed in my bag. What would you put into a bag?
Put in the bag?
Yeah.
Fine, non-stop and insurance. Open the information to my, for the
And then
next
you
2
look at the
days
fire extinguisher.
for summer.
Yeah, all the various information, stuff you need to survive. What about you, sir?
With the fire extinguisher.
Just all the things I would put in a backpack.
Yep, same, similar things, but box gives you more space. You may want to throw in a good book, family photos, things that remind you of good times, so you can go ahead. Plus, if you have family photos, you want to go ahead and have family photos of a group photo and then individual photos. Because if you have to go looking for somebody, you don't want to give up a big group photo. You want to go ahead and say, okay, I'm looking for this person. Have you seen this person here? This is my wife, or this is my son, or my daughter, or my grandchild. Have you seen this person? And now you have that, and then like, how do I know you know this person? You could go, look, here's a family photo. There I am, there they are. And you kind of can work it that way. So you want to have that information. And yes, it's good to have a digital copy, like maybe on your phone or on a thumb drive. It's good to have paper copies. This day and age, I don't believe in having just one of anything. I believe in the simple philosophy, 1 is none, 2 is 1, and 3 is 2. And then for my gas in my car, I always go, full tank is full because I can't get any more into that gas tank. Half a tank is empty, 3/4 of a tank is half a tank. That way, no matter what, if I have to run, I can just go ahead and hop in that car, and I know for a fact I got at least half a tank. That'll get me at least 250 miles away from LA if I have to. Get me most of the way to Vegas. So you got to think about things like that. Through the rest of the presentations, we're going to tie into that because we'll talk about first aid, we're going to talk about fire suppression, communication, mapping your neighborhoods, getting to know your neighbors a little bit better, and a few other topics. And I believe I'm at my 5 minutes, right? Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we have a study of confidence in the LA County Fire.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Elliot. I work at Fire Station 158 right here on 162nd. I'm also one of the CERT instructors. Been helping teaching system with CERT for about 16, 17 years. I really encourage you guys to come out, take the class. Has anybody signed up for the class yet? No? Okay, so the class November 4th, 11th, and 18th. I really encourage you guys to come out and take the class. You learn about gas meter shut-off, disaster training, bandaging and splinting. You even get to play with the little fire. Does anybody have any questions for me regarding the CERT class? Yes.
I've taken training about a year or 2 ago.
Okay.
Is this still current? I mean,
Yes.
how do we have to keep updating?
So it's still the same. Once you're trained, you have your certificate, but we do encourage people to come back, and there's some things that may have changed a little bit, or you may have forgotten, just to refresh your memory. You'll still get a certificate, but you're more than welcome to take it again. Not much has changed. I know they're trying to revamp, at least on our end, for the fire department, the training cadre, but I still encourage you to come out and take it. Does everybody have a smoke detector in their house? Okay. What's that? Perfect. So with mobile homes, just to let you guys know, they burn hotter and they burn faster. So like we said, take the class, be better prepared. You can also help your neighbor. Anybody have any questions for me regarding the fire department or anything? No?
Can you talk about their fire response during a disaster?
Yes. So for us, for LA County Fire Department, if there's a major disaster, believe it or not, I hate to say it, and it hurts me. If there's a major disaster, you guys will be on your own for a little bit. Here in Gardena, there's about 60,000 residents. About 60,000 residents. Does anybody know how many firefighters are on duty per day here in the city? Besides the CERT folks. So here in Gardena, there's a total of 9 firefighters.
9 only?
For 60,000, for the whole city.
Huh?
Yes.
And that's
So-
a 24 hours.
It is 24 hours, 7 days a week. But if there's a major disaster, you guys will be on your own for a little bit. Every day, normal stuff, we're there for you.
Comparison to other cities, how many?
Carson, like certain cities have more than others, but just here in Gardena, in the city, there is 9. LA County's huge. We have 73 fire stations, but everybody's gonna be inundated. We'll have people coming in from Hawthorne if they can get out. So depending on where it hit, you guys will be on your own. Yes,
I drove in their head all the time. We will be alone.
yes,
We are fully covered in one shed with everything. We have our tarps, we have our flashlights, we have our radios, we have everything.
yes,
But they have to understand,
yes,
you are not gonna be here
Yes.
for their help.
yeah,
It's you alone in this park.
yeah. And that's for
That's
a
why we
disaster.
have this.
Yes, that's for a disaster. It could be an hour, it could be a half hour.
Yeah.
So what we do for LA County, we have target hazards.
He asked me if I took any medication.
So we have to go to like the hospitals, the nursing homes, where they lose power. Mostly everybody is pretty self-sufficient, can walk on their own, but we have target hazards where one ray goes one way, another goes another, and we have to do what we call a jurisdictional survey and report back to our dispatch and our chief officers.
Dizzy.
If it's something that's natural, man-made, like I said, it could be anywhere from a half hour, it could be a day. It could be a full day where you're on your own. We might not be able to access certain roads due to certain streets that may have collapsed or overpasses that may have collapsed. Might not be able to get in. People are gonna be waving stop and we're gonna keep driving. And it's not to be mean, that's just our policy. We have to go to the hospitals, the nursing homes, certain target hazards that we have in our first in jurisdiction. And it's the same for other county stations. So we will be there to help, but eventually. And like I said, it pains me to say we're not gonna be there, but it's the truth. You know, I don't wanna sugarcoat anything, so it helps take this class and just learn to be self-sufficient and have water, food, be there for your family, your neighbors. So, yes,
How do
sir.
you prioritize though? Which one has the worst emergency? I mean, if you have emergency here, then you have emergency south.
Yeah,
And so
as far
houses
as
and all that stuff, I mean,
the normal day-to-day or during an emergency?
your emergency.
So during emergency, you call 911, they send the closest station. That station, if they're on a call, it just keeps going to the next closest station, and we just try to go available to get there faster. But if it's a disaster, there's no purpose. Basically, our target hazards. And it's like colleges, elementary schools, hospitals, convalescent homes, or nursing homes. So those are our target hazards, our policy. Because once they lose power, you got 80 patients and 30 of them are on oxygen, they have no power. We have to be able to get a lot of those folks out.
Okay, thank you,
Yes.
Elliot.
Basically, we want to talk a little bit about the fire extinguisher. We recommend that everybody have one of these in their homes. I have two of this size fire extinguisher, and one of the things about these fire extinguishers is when you purchase it, make sure you have a hose on it. And the reason for that is you can direct the flow of the chemical onto the fire. Now, if you buy the one that has just a nozzle, you'll have a harder time shooting this thing into the fire. So we really recommend something like this. The other thing is that this is, how much you get, 5 pounder?
There's 5, 10, and a kitty pound, yeah, or a
Okay.
kitty.
Okay, so I believe the fire department recommends the ABC?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so do you want to talk to the ABC?
Sure.
The rating?
So, real quick, just go over the extinguisher. Like I said, there's 5 pound, 10 pound. They also sell what they call kitty fire extinguishers. You can buy them at Sam's Club, Costco, and I think you usually get 2 in a pack. We recommend the ABC extinguisher. There's also a water can, which we don't recommend. ABC put out paper, wood, plastic. So if you guys have this in your home, under your cabinet or garage, wherever you guys want to keep it, does everybody know how to work a fire extinguisher? No? You want to come up? And,
Sure.
I could go over it. So,
Well, we have this terminology in CERT called PASS, P-A-S-S. It's, you pull the pin, there's a safety pin right there. Pull that, and now you're ready to shoot this thing, okay? Then you turn it towards your target, and you want to shoot it at the base of the fire, not at the fire, but the base. And then you sweep, you trigger this thing, and then you sweep like this across the fire. And that puts it out.
It's the top handle, the actual trigger, right? Not the bottom,
Yeah,
right?
there's two black pieces here. You can see the trigger right here. You push down, you'll get a flow out of it. But my experience has been that if you try to test this thing, what happens is some of the chemical powder gets up into the seal and starts leaking. So I wouldn't recommend testing it. But there is a little gauge here that tells you how much pressure you have. If you look at that, it's red and green. The needle should be in the green. Okay, so how many of you have fire extinguishers? Wonderful. Okay, so I don't know if you guys turn this thing upside down. I do recommend that.
You could shake it, see if there's powder, see if it's still good. Some of them, it's hard to tell. I've had people that have had extinguishers for 7, 8 years, it still works. Some people are like, I'm gonna test it. I'm like, don't test it, because you want to keep as much product in there as possible. You want to keep as much product in there as possible. So just check your gauge. If you can shake it, see if you can hear the powder shaking, but you don't want to squirt it to see if it still works. That's just wasting the chemical agent that you would need during an emergency. Yes, sir.
From the time that you squeeze it, how long does it last?
This one will probably last about 20 seconds. It starts off with a quick burst, and then it starts dissipating, starts getting weaker and weaker. So if it's too heavy for you guys, if you have shoulder problems, wrist problems, you sit on the ground, aim at the base. Remember, the bottom is the handle, top is the trigger. So you can hold it like that, and just aim at the base of the fire. Yes, sir.
You no longer refill extinguishers, right? So do you recommend, like, after 10 years, just buying a new one?
You could. I mean, better safe than sorry. Depending on where you keep them, I know if it's like a hot garage, over time it just builds up and gets caked and stuck in there, but it could possibly still work as well. In order to get them serviced, you have to, I recommend just buying another kitty fire extinguisher. You drop these off at the fire station because it's going to cost more to charge it than the extinguisher's worth.
Or donate to your local CERT group so they can use it for training.
Or, there you go. Yes.
No, that was my question. Is there an expiration date on the tank?
So for businesses, they have to get tested every year. But as far as in your home, there's not.
Yeah, we have our guys come and test ours every year.
Yeah. So they have to come and test them and get inspected and tagged.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's pretty pricey. It costs more to have it serviced than buying a new extinguisher.
Thank you,
Yes.
Elliot and Barry.
Yeah.
And then they will do more demos outside, okay? Now Marty's coming in to talk about medical.
Good morning. Okay, so I'm basically gonna talk about basic first aid, just the basics, okay? And then we can get into a little bit more about what CERT, which is just a teeny bit. But just a kind of, so everybody knows about cuts and scrapes, right? And what to do for them. Basically just wash it off with a little soap and water, or I have some of this stuff. It's kind of hard to find though sometimes, or you could use Bactine or any of those types of things. I like this stuff because it has it's a numbing agent, lidocaine, so it'll desensitize, it'll make it go numb. And then once you've done that, then you just, I use polysporin, or when you have pits, you can use a little triple antibiotic ointment to put on there and then bandage it up. A little story is, a couple of weeks ago, I was making some stuff in the kitchen. I had a little tiny cut on my finger that was like on a knife. And I was cutting up ginger, and then I found out that I had cut myself through the ginger because it stung pretty good. And then I didn't do anything about it for a few days, and it kept yelling at me. Finally, I decided to wash it out, put some ointment on it, and put a Band-Aid on there. And I had to do that for 2 days, and then it healed up just like that. So covering them up is a really good idea. And one of the things I also do for that keep a little tiny kit in my purse. And actually this came in handy one day because I saw a guy coming out of Lowe's and he was holding his hand and he had torn a flap of skin. Okay, just a little tiny bit. He was bleeding a little bit, so I dressed him up. So I used my little kit and cleaned it out and put the ointment on there and put the Band-Aid on there and he was good to go. And so that's one of the things I like to do. So that's if you're doing heavy bleeding though, so like for CERT purposes, one of the things we have, which we use in our CERT class, is this little kit. And what this has is it has, usually you'll have a pad. Okay, this is like a, you know, like these kind of non-stick pads type of thing. And you take that and you would, and then you just wrap it on. Okay, and then you have some roller gauze and you just wrap it, you put the bandage on and then roll it, okay? And then you can put this kind of, this is self-sticking. I have a whole lot of this in my own kit. Oops. And then this will hold it on there. And then so the problem is if it's a bad enough bleed and it starts to bleed through, then you just put more on and more wrap, okay? And then, but that's stuff that we practice in the class. And then, now, what do you think is the greater risk in the kitchen? Getting burned or getting cut? Getting burned, right? So the thing you want to do with burns is you want to put it under cold water. You don't want to put ice on it per se, but you want to run it under cold water and for twice, 3, 4 times as long as it took to get burned in order to get that heat out of it. And then don't put anything on it, just a nice dry dressing if you want to protect it.
How much butter do you put on it?
You don't,
Is that what wives say?
yeah, you don't put anything on it at all. Nothing. You want oxygen to get to it, so if you cover it with anything that's like what ointment or butter or anything really like that, you're going to prevent oxygen from getting to it, and because the oxygen is what's going to help it heal. And but you just want to put a dry bandage around it so that you won't bump it and stay protected. Let's see now. Has anybody ever sprained an ankle or done something like that? Yeah, so one of the first things you want to do is elevate it, right? And then but you want to go to your freezer and you can either have a cold pack, you know, like in one of these kits, right? You could either have one and you squish it and put it on there, or you can use frozen vegetables, like a bag of frozen peas, or frozen corn, or anything loose like that. You can use that as a compress, as a cold compress. Let's see. And then choking. Do you know what to do for choking? Somebody's choking. You know, you're here, you're having a celebration, somebody gets stuck in something gets stuck in their throat. Do you know how to do that? The Heimlich maneuver, right? Where you find somebody and you basically you get their navel, you get around them, right? And you find out where their navel is, and you put your fist in here, and then you get the other hand, and then you pull up. Okay, but the first thing you do is hit them on the backside. Okay, and then if they still can't breathe, then you're going to have to do the Heimlich maneuver. And now, one of the things about in this, as we age, the incidences of heart attack or sudden cardiac arrest, they can happen, but it can happen at any age. I know that in my own mobile home park, I live in mobile home over there at the Garden West Estates on Western, and we had a guy, and he basically collapsed outside his home one day. And I wasn't there, so I couldn't help anybody, I couldn't help him. But nobody knew what to do for CPR. And they've changed the protocol now, so you don't give any breaths anymore. But there's the hands-only CPR. But if you know how to do that, it could have maybe saved his life. You get somebody, go call 911, and then you have to start the compressions. Does anybody here know about how to do that? How to do the CPR?
Used to.
Long time ago. I know, it's been a long time. And so the thing is there is going to be a training here pretty soon for that. We'll have it at the Harvest Fest. That'll be, is that October 14th?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's also going to be at for the senior lunches on October 20th from 11 to 12. So we'll let Barbara know about it and you can sign up for it.
Any questions?
Thank you. Okay, Stuart is up. Radio message.
Super. Yeah.
so we're gonna talk about communications, and communications is a really, really big topic, which we're not gonna hit on today, really. We're gonna hit on two things, okay? One, first of all, I gotta say, Barbara, you're doing a really good job. We have developed a two-way radio program for your complex, okay? And during an emergency, we've got radios in the back here. She has handout radios, and you're gonna be able to, whoever she assigns is gonna be able to, I guess you have teams, you guys know more about it than I do, but you walk through the complex and you report back to the command post. This is the command post, okay? And you report back on the radio, what you're gonna, are people okay, any medical emergencies, stuff like that. Because when the big earthquake hits, your cell phones are more than likely just not gonna be working whatsoever. Your texting is probably not gonna be working at all. So, and that's a real culture shock. It stops working for you, everybody starts freaking out. Okay, so that's why we have handout radios. Okay, so two things. One, some of you know how to use your radio, some don't. This is not a cell phone. It's not a cell phone. You can't talk and listen at the same time. You can't do it. You have to push a button, push the button, and I can talk. Gary, can you turn it up just a little bit, a little louder? That's 1, 2, 3. So I have the button pressed. And Gary can hear, you can all hear on that radio, right? So I have to unpress the microphone to hear. Gary, call me back.
Staff 1, this is CERT 06.
Okay, so Gary talked to me, right? But, and this takes a little muscle memory, because most people, when they first get on the radio, they get fuddled, or whatever the word is, and they forget to let go of it. So if I go like this, Gary, what's going on over there? And I don't forget to undo it, I'm still holding it. Gary, try to talk to me.
Staff 1, this is CERT 06.
You hear nothing, right? Talk again.
Staff 1, this is CERT 06.
Talk a little bit longer. Again. I'm keying up. Talk count to 10.
Staff 1, this is CERT 06. Account 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
See? Get it? If I don't want to eat, it's not a cell phone. You can't just cough back and forth. So you guys need to remember that. And you probably need to do, whoever you're going to be assigning, maybe once every 2 or 3 months we can take a 15-minute exercise. It's just an exercise. You talk, you let go, and it's just muscle memory. Okay? It's really pretty simple. And this place is the command post. So if you're on the radio, you go like this. Command post, this is Stuart. And I'll let go and listen. Okay? This is the command post, this is who we're calling. We call the command post, we let them know who's calling. Command post, this is Gardena Staff 1. Gary, are you using command post?
Affirmative.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
Copy that.
Forgot to let go, didn't I? Talk again.
Staff 1. Nothing.
Count to 10.
Staff 1, account 1, 2.
Got to do it. Where is he?
4,
Where is he?
5, 6, 7, 8.
Pretty simple, right?
9, 10.
Just a little muscle memory. Okay, she's got her teams. We can do some training for people on the teams. 10, 15 minutes of doing this and that, you're no problem. You speak clear English. You say, hey, we got a problem at mobile home number 10. Nobody's answering and I know they're home. We need to figure something out. Whatever. You just speak clear English. There's no codes. There's no any of that kind of stuff. With me? You all with me? Just clear English. Okay. So, any quick questions? I'll be outside if you want to talk to me later.
Let them know that there is stuff outside they have to see too.
We have stuff outside. I got a little communications booth out there if you want to ask questions. You have one question?
Is that a UHF radio?
This is a UHF and VHF. It's really simple. When we get radios for handout radios, we get really, really simple radios with no keypads, only a few buttons. It's so people can't play with it who don't, so that's what we do. So,
What's
yes.
the range on it?
Well, this one, if we're going radio to radio, we're talking, this radio talks to his radio, or directly. We can go maybe a mile or two, okay? There's other ways where you're actually talking to, and the reason you can't talk very far, because you got a lot of buildings and stuff in the way, a lot of metal in the way. If actually Gary was on top of Palos Verdes, or on top of the Hollywood Hills up there, in theory, if you had binoculars, you could maybe kind of see him. In theory, right? What I'm trying to say is this is line of sight. If I can see you, you can see me, we can talk. But buildings get in the way, everything gets in the way, right? So in theory, these can talk 20 or 30 miles. Mirafit, well, he usually gets in about 30 miles. So, but there are other systems, more professional systems, where we're actually talking to a really fancy radio called a repeater, and the antenna is like really high up, and what we're really doing is talking to the antenna. Ours is at the Gardena Police Department. And then it's got a much more powerful radio there. That antenna, that repeater, gets our signal and then broadcasts it all over LA. So, and then yes, sir?
I was on a backpacking trip in the Southern Sierras. From Kern Peak, I was able to reach the TRW repeater in Redondo Beach.
Yeah, because you've got all that height in the world.
Yeah.
So you could do that. So, okay, any questions, just ask me outside, okay? So it's good that you guys got radios. If you're interested, you know, see Barbara, and she'll get somebody to help you with this. Okay, and I'll even come in if you guys need help. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. Okay, Gerald, is that with Mickey and Pet Preparedness?
This is Mickey right here. Just a little brief history that when I got him, he was about 4 years old from the Hawthorne Animal Shelter. Right, Mickey? He was jumping up and down. He got my attention more than he got mine, or whatever. But anyway, let's cut to the chase, right to the meat of it. Okay, now let's fast forward, maybe a couple of years, a couple of weeks, or whatever. All right, you're doing your thing. All right, then all of a sudden, things start to shake, rattle, and roll. You're going, what is going on here? All right, it doesn't register for a while, and then a big shake. Then you realize it's the big shake. All right. You look outside your area. You see smoke, fire, dust rising through the air. All right. Now the thing of it is this. You're thankful that, oh God, I'm prepared. I got ready for this. I got food. I got water. Next question is, how many of you have cats and dogs or birds? Do you have a go bag for them? All right. If you don't have a go bag, now is a good time to have one. Meaning like food, water, just like yourselves. We all need food and water. All right, because the water that may come through your faucet after the big shake might be contaminated, right? So you want to have a good supply for your best friend. Your pet depends on you for this, all right? He loves you unconditionally, so the thing of it is, have something ready for him. Medication, leash, all right? Short leash or a retractable one. A kennel, like I have back there. You'll see it as after this. And maybe a towel, doggy treats, toys, whatever you could think of. All right? Yes, sir.
Copies of their vaccinations.
Copies of vaccinations. Thank you very much. That's a good point. As well. But for some reason that your pet, you and your pet get separated, it's always good to have a photograph of them with you and your pet together. Or just with your pet. That way that whoever finds their dog or cat, you could identify them as proof that it's yours. Or better yet, have them chipped. Okay? And let's see, what else? Well, anyway, that is pretty much it in a brief as briefly as I can put it. But there's one more thing I'd like to add. There's an app that's absolutely free, and I think we all like that. It's called My Shade. It's educational. It's sponsored by the, it's developed by UC Berkeley Seismology Lab, and it's sponsored by the California Office of Emergency Service. This app gives you the information of how to prepare, survive, recover, and then some. All right, and it's like an alert system. Highly recommend it. I got one myself. So anyway, if you have any questions, I'll be right back there. Where where one of our staff is standing.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Yay. Okay, so Mark is going to come and talk on Mapper neighborhood, and then Kenny, right?
Yeah, you guys come outside for mine.
Yeah. Okay, Kenny will explain the utilities outside of there, but Mark.
Try to keep you awake. My voice is a little monotone, but thank you for coming. So I understand that you guys are already fairly well organized. I'm going to be talking about a program called Map Your Neighborhood to help neighborhoods organize to work together after disaster, because as Elliot said, we'll be on our own likely for some period. It could be days even if it's a major disaster. So it's important, our first responders will be each other, right? You're first responsible for yourself, and then if you can help others, that's the idea. So you've heard some good information that are elements of this Map Your Neighborhood program. It's a 9-step program, simpler than the AA 12-step program. So I'll just go quickly through it. First of all, obviously, to take care of yourself. If you're bleeding and so on, you're going to be shutting off gas at your house. Take out your bag, your emergency bag that you keep under your bed, as Jose talked about, and be ready to exit your house. The next thing you're going to be doing is as I mentioned, the gas. There's the biggest problem in earthquakes is not destruction and injury from the shaking, but it's really more damage from fires that are started during the earthquake, because gas lines are broken. And gas leaks and electrical sparks and so on can ignite the gas. And so neighborhood-sized fires are the problem. You saw what happened in Lahaina, right, in Maui. The whole city was leveled. It looked like an atomic bomb had hit. The same thing you saw in Northern California in some of the cities, Paradise and others places. 100 people nearly were killed. So these things can spread rapidly. In fact, in Maui, due to the high winds, the flames were going 60 a mile a minute. That's 60 miles an hour. If you're on the freeway, you can drive that fast, but you're not going to run that fast. So hopefully here there won't be the problem with the winds, but having houses close together, units close together, that creates a danger for spreading the fire from house to house. So you want to turn off the gas, and you're going to see how to do that. Have a demonstration outside how to do that. Each unit here has a gas shut off. If you only shut it off if there's an indication of gas leak. The ways to detect that are you can hear it, a hissing sound, or you can smell it, it's odorized, or what's the third one? If you see it bubbling out of the ground or something like that. So then you shut it off. Otherwise, don't shut it off because turn it back on, it could take days to get a certified plumber or utility person to come and do that. You don't want to do it yourself. The next thing you want to do is turn off the water at your water main valve. And you'll see a demonstration how to do that also. The reason for that is the most important thing that you cannot survive without for days is water. Even if you don't have food, water is the most important thing. So if you shut off the water, you're preserving water that's in the pipes in your house or in your unit or your water heater. And so those are sources of water in addition to any water that you may have stored in a bottle like this. The next thing you want to do is let your neighbors know your condition. And you can put out a sign on your front window, okay, if you're okay, or help, if you need help. And that is useful when these teams go out. I understand you're organized into teams of 5 teams of 2, I believe.
Yes.
That will go around and look and see, and they can very quickly, if they see these signs, they can quickly see if you need help. Or if you don't, then they can go on to the next house that may need help. So it's important to do that. Now, if you're incapacitated and unable to put up the help sign, then they need to assume that you do need help, and so they will go in and check on you. Okay. The next thing is, I mentioned the fire danger, and Elliot spoke about the fire extinguishers, is obviously if there's a fire at your unit, you need to put that out first. If there is none, then what you do is you take your fire extinguisher and put it out in front of your unit on the curb, and that way one of your neighbors who may need a fire extinguisher, they may need an extra one. Maybe they have a big fire and theirs is all used up and they need to get another one. They know right where to go find another fire extinguisher. You know, they can see, they know where to look on the curbs. Okay, the next thing is, as part of this program, is that the neighbors meet together at a central place, which would presumably be this place, this meeting area. And then you divide into teams. You already designated these five teams, I believe. In most neighborhoods, they recommend no more than 20 households being one neighborhood group, because after a major disaster, the first hour is critical. They call it the golden hour. That is the time in which you can either bleed to death or your house can burn down and so on. So it's important to check all those neighbors within an hour. And if you have 5 groups of 2, and you have about 50 units here?
Yes, we do.
So that's about 10 units per group.
Right.
They should easily get around to 10 each of the teams.
And my team will be in here, and I also have Mike. That's
Okay.
going to be helpful. I mean, yeah, that's going to be helpful.
Okay. So normally you have it maybe organized differently, but we organize typically in Macker neighborhood in four teams. One team does the search and rescue, looks for the help or okay.
Exactly.
Another team stays and monitors the radio or TV for public communications from the authorities.
We have that.
And then another team goes around to turn off all the gas if it's leaking, only if it's leaking.
Exactly.
Okay. And another team to check on anybody with special needs who may need assistance if they're
That's our people
disabled.
that walk in the park.
Okay. So those are 4 teams, and then they come back and report. Now you have radios, so you can report quickly, or they can come back here if the radios are not charged, they're not working, or you're having problems with it. And then when you come back here and report, then you communicate any additional needs. If there's a place that needs a special help, you know, somebody needs CPR, then you find somebody who knows CPR and send them out there. Or if they need help getting some heavy bookshelf that's fallen on somebody off of them, or some special equipment, a chainsaw or something like that, then you know who has it. And that's another thing that you're supposed to do really initially, is to map out who has equipment or skills that may be useful in a disaster. And so you have a list of that, and keep that list here, and so that if there's a special need, you know where to get the help. And we have these inserts that each of you should pick up and put in your packets that describe the 9-step program that I just mentioned. And it has also a OK and help sign. And we recommend that you keep a Band-Aids or something like that to with it, so that you can stick it on your window.
Yeah, we got
Oh, you got those also?
We made some for yours.
Great. So that's basically it. I'm the expert in Gardena for Map Your Neighborhood. I organized it in our neighborhood for 20 years or so. We go through refresher drills try to go every year to refresh our memory. We have new people moving in. It's important to get them involved. So any questions? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay, so Barbara is going to say some last comments. And then after that, please come and visit all the tables, and we're going to teach you hands-on skills.
Rusty and Jim have prepared your lunch. She's bringing the chicken now, and there's a bunch of salad over there. But I would also like to thank all your people here for coming and listening to the full presentation. Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Did you understand it?
No.
Okay, because remember, we are going to be alone. Okay? I thank CERT, the the fire department for coming and giving us time for everything they've done today for us. So let's give them a big hand, please.